Ever feel like the term corporate risk manager is a bit like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery box, isn't it?
Totally. So today, we're cracking open that box, right? We've got all these RoleCatcher guides
Six of them.
to help us figure out what's true, what's not, about this whole corporate risk manager thing.
Yeah, give you the real scoop.
Exactly.
Instead of just the textbook definition.
Yeah, because it's actually a pretty fascinating field, right?
It is. It's way more dynamic than people think.
Which is what we're going to uncover. So no more picturing someone chained to a desk with spreadsheets coming out their ears, right?
Right. No more dreary office stereotypes.
So if it's not all spreadsheets and regulations, what does a corporate risk manager actually, do all day?
Okay, picture this. A huge tech company. They're about to launch this cutting-edge product, right?
Okay, sounds exciting so far.
Right. But here's the thing. What about the risks?
Oh, right, there are always risks.
Exactly. You got data breaches, supply chain issues, even just bad press on social media.
Yeah, any of that could totally tank a launch.
Exactly. And that's where the corporate risk manager comes in.
They're like the safety net.
More like they're the what-if thinkers. They're looking ahead to spot those threats before they become a problem.
So it's less about avoiding all risk and more about being strategic, like anticipating what can happen.
Exactly. They're analyzing data, looking at trends, even global events.
Wow, the whole world.
Yeah, anything that can make the company vulnerable.
So they have to be able to, see the big picture and the tiny details at the same time.
Absolutely. They figure out how likely each risk is and what the impact would be on the business. Like, how bad would it really be if this happened?
That makes sense.
It's not just about spotting the risks, it's understanding how they all connect and which ones need attention first.
So that's where the problem solving comes in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say a company relies on just one supplier for a key part.
Putting all their eggs in one basket, risky.
Right. And then, say there's some political unrest where that supplier is.
Oh.
That's a major vulnerability. So the risk manager would flag that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but they don't just point at the problem and run away, right?
No, wait, they've got to find solutions too.
Okay, so what would they actually do in that situation?
They might suggest finding other suppliers, even if it costs a bit more.
To spread the risk.
Exactly. It's about weighing the pros and cons and finding the smartest move for the company.
So this isn't some boring compliance job, huh?
Not at all. There's a real decision-making here, stuff that really impacts the company's success.
Which brings us to another myth about corporate risk managers.
Let's hear it.
They are just number-crunching robots.
Right. They're not hiding in a basement with calculators.
They have to be good with people too, right?
Absolutely. They've got to be top-notch communicators.
Because they're explaining all this complex stuff to the higher-ups.
Exactly. And it can't just be a bunch of jargon. It has to be clear and actionable what the risks are and what to do about them.
And they're probably working with all sorts of other teams too.
Oh, for sure. IT, finance, legal, the whole shebang. It's very collaborative.
So are we saying those soft skills are just as important as knowing your numbers?
Totally. Especially persuasion. Imagine having to convince a CEO to spend a ton of money on cybersecurity upgrades.
Or tell them they need to delay a product launch because of some unforeseen risk? Yeah, that takes some serious people skills.
Exactly. You need tact. You need to be able to present a compelling argument with solid data to back it up.
They're almost like internal consultants, right?
Yeah.
Advising leadership on how to navigate all this uncertainty.
That's a great way to put it. It's about influencing those big decisions to protect the company, their profits, their reputation.
And their long-term survival, really.
Exactly.
This is definitely painting a much more interesting picture of this role than I think most people have.
And we're just getting started. We haven't even talked about what it takes to actually succeed in this kind of role.
Okay, so let's get into it. I'm guessing it's not just about having a finance degree.
You guessed it. There's a lot more to it.
Let's dig in, because I'm really starting to see how much more there is to this than meets the eye. So we've established that corporate risk managers, they need this kind of unique blend of analytical skills, but then also being good with people.
Yeah, it's a bit of both worlds, isn't it?
Totally. So say someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, this actually sounds kind of cool, right? Where do they even begin? What's that first step on the career ladder look like?
Well, a lot of times people start out as a risk analyst, kind of like your boot camp for risk management.
Okay, so you're in the trenches, learning the ropes.
Exactly. You're helping with risk assessments, you're gathering data, learning how to actually spot those potential problems.
Getting your hands dirty.
Exactly. And you're building a really solid foundation in Data analysis, risk modeling, reporting, all that good stuff.
So you've conquered the whole risk analyst thing. You've got some experience under your belt. What's next?
That's where things get really interesting. You can become a risk consultant.
Ooh, consultant. That sounds fancy.
Right. And that's where you start taking on more responsibility.
Instead of just assisting, you're leading.
You got it.
Huh.
Leading risk assessments, coming up with actual strategies, the whole 9 yards.
And that's where those leadership schools we talked about come in.
Big time. You're working more with different teams, presenting your findings, even advising those higher ups, management.
So you got to be able to connect the dots between, like, here's the risk and here's how it impacts the company's goals.
Exactly. And as you get better at that, and you're showing you can actually get results.
That you're the real deal.
Right. You might find yourself moving up to senior risk manager.
Senior risk manager. Now we're talking.
Right. That's a whole other level of strategy involved.
What's that look like day to day?
Think of it like this. You're overseeing the entire risk management process.
Wow. The whole thing.
For a company, or at least a big chunk of it, a whole business unit even.
Okay, so big picture stuff.
Right. You're developing policies, doing those big risk assessments, advising the top executives on all the really complex stuff.
So you're not just managing risk at that point, you're managing people and processes.
Exactly. You're trying to create a culture where everyone's thinking about risk,
Yeah.
making sure everyone's on the same page about spotting and dealing with potential problems.
So for those who really love this whole world, they've got their sights set on, like, the top of the mountain. Where does that path lead?
Well, if you're all about leading and shaping strategy for the whole organization, there's Director of Risk Management.
Okay, director, that sounds important.
It is. You're basically the architect of how the entire company thinks about and handles risk. You set the guidelines, the strategic direction. You lead a whole team of risk professionals.
That's incredible. From risk analyst all the way up to director, shaping how an entire company approaches risk.
It's quite a journey, and that's just the traditional corporate route. These skills you develop, they can be used in so many places: consulting, government, even nonprofits.
Okay, so for our listeners who are, like, thinking about the practicalities,
The salary expectation.
Exactly. What are we talking about here?
Well, it's going to depend on a bunch of things, right? Where you're working, what industry, how much experience you have, all that.
Of course, those are always factors.
But generally speaking, corporate risk managers, they're compensated pretty well for their expertise.
Which makes sense. They're protecting a lot of money, a lot of reputation.
Exactly. It's a field where the more you learn, the more experience you have, the more you can earn, especially if you keep learning and adapting as things change.
That's what our learner persona loves to hear. Their investment in their skills pays off.
Absolutely. And beyond just the money, there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing your work is directly contributing to a company's success, their ability to weather any storm.
It's about being a protector, a strategist, a problem solver.
All rolled into one, too.
Now, let's be real. Climbing that corporate ladder, it's not always easy, right? What can someone do to stand out, to really accelerate their career in this competitive field?
Well, that's where those insider tips and those strategic moves come in handy.
And lucky for us, RoleCatcher's got our backs with those guides.
They really do.
So spill the beans. What are some key things someone could do to get ahead of the game?
First up, certifications. They're huge.
Certifications? Like, what do those do?
They show you're serious about this, that you've got the knowledge and skills to back it up. It's a way to stand out from the crowd.
Okay, so which certifications should someone be looking at, the gold standard for aspiring corporate risk managers?
There are a few big ones. You've got the Certified Risk Manager, that's the CRM, very well respected, covers a lot of ground.
Okay, CRM, got it.
Then there's the Certified Financial Risk Manager, the FRM. That one dives deeper into, the financial side of risk, which is obviously a big part of the job.
Makes sense.
And if you want to specialize in enterprise risk management, there's the Chartered Enterprise Risk Analyst, the CERA.
Okay, so CRM, FRM, CR, those are the big three.
Those are the ones to have on your resume. They show you mean business.
It's like having a superpower badge.
Yeah.
Makes you instantly more credible.
Exactly.
But what about actual experience? How important is that, and how do you even get it early on?
Experience is key, just like anything else. The good news is there are ways to get your foot in the door. Internships, for example.
Good old internships?
Right. Look for internships at banks, consulting firms, even the risk management departments of bigger companies. It's a chance to put what you've learned into practice. Network with people in the field.
Networking, so important. It's not always what you know, it's who you know, right?
It's true. Go to industry events, Join professional organizations, you'll learn from the best, stay updated on the latest trends, and you'll meet people, potential mentors, future colleagues, even employers.
It's all about making those connections.
Exactly.
And don't forget about the internet. Having a good LinkedIn profile, showing off your skills and what you've done, that can really catch a recruiter's eye.
Oh, absolutely. A strong online presence is key these days. You can even start a blog, write articles for industry websites, show people you know what you're talking about, share your insights.
Love that. It's about showing your passion, what makes you unique.
Yes, exactly.
But I imagine with all the information out there, it can feel overwhelming, especially if you're just starting out,
It definitely can.
which is where RoleCatcher swoops in to
Yeah.
save the day, right? Not just with their guides, but with their whole platform. It's like having a career coach right in your pocket.
It's true, they have a ton of resources.
Okay, so let's talk about RoleCatcher and all the cool tools they offer. We've mentioned the guides, which are awesome, but what else can they do to help someone actually land their dream job in risk management? So we've talked about how important it is to, like, tailor your resume for every job you apply for.
Yeah, you can't just use the same one for everything.
Totally. But
Right.
honestly, that can be such a pain.
It's the worst, right?
It is. So does RoleCatcher, like, help with that at all?
They do. That's where their AI resume thing comes
Wow,
in. Their AI-powered resume analysis. You upload your resume,
Okay.
and their AI, it compares it to the job you want.
So it's like having a little resume expert telling you what to fix.
Basically, it finds the keywords, the skills, even those gaps in your experience that might be holding you back.
Well, that's interesting. So it doesn't just tell you it's bad, it tells you why.
Right. And the best part, it gives you suggestions like how to actually make it better, make it stand out to those hiring managers.
That's amazing. Okay, so what about this reverse matching thing I've heard about? Does RoleCatcher actually help employers find you?
They do. It's super cool, actually. So employers, they put in what they're looking for in a candidate.
Okay.
And then RoleCatcher looks at everyone who's opted in, right? And it matches them up based on skills and experience.
Wait, so the jobs come to you?
Pretty much. Instead of you chasing after jobs, they come to you.
That's a game changer, especially now when it's so competitive out there.
Right. It's like they flip the script on the whole job search process.
I love it. Okay, so with all these amazing tools and features, it really seems like RoleCatcher can be like the secret weapon for anyone who wants to work in risk management.
It's true. They give you everything you need to take control of your career, learn about the industry, connect with the right people.
So we've talked about a lot today, haven't we? We busted those myths about corporate risk managers, figured out what it really takes to succeed.
It's more than just spreadsheets, that's for sure.
Right, we looked at how your career can grow, those insider tips, and how RoleCatcher can be there every step of the way.
They're like your trusty sidekick.
Totally. So as we wrap up, is there one big thing you want our listeners to remember about working in risk management?
I think the big takeaway is it's a really dynamic field and it's mentally engaging. You're always thinking, always strategizing.
You're like a protector, keeping businesses safe from the unknown.
Exactly. So if you're someone who likes solving problems, dealing with complex stuff, and you want to help businesses thrive, protect them from those unexpected things that could pop up.
Then this could be the path for you.
Exactly.
What a great note to end on. It's not just a job, it's about having a real impact. And for our listeners who want to dive deeper, check out RoleCatcher. They've got you covered. This has been an awesome deep dive into the world of corporate risk managers. Thanks for joining us.